Hey, what's going on everyone? This is Trylon here. I'm just going to go over some tips and tricks for Dual Universe. I'm chilling with my boy RJ. Go ahead and say hello, RJ.
Hello, hello.
That's my man. He's up in my org. So first thing we're going to go over is the tutorial. First of all, do the tutorial, okay? And I don't mean that in reference to learning the game, which you should do anyway. I mean that in reference to getting free shit. You get free stuff if you do the tutorial. Specifically, you're going to get Quantas, which is the money in the game, and you're also going to get free talent points. Those talent points really help diversify and accelerate your skills so that you can perform tasks in the game a little bit better. Specifically, I'll let RJ go over a couple of things that he thinks are probably the best things that you should try and grab first with your talent points. I'm sorry, before I go to RJ, first let me cover over the fact that you want to queue it immediately. So if you go into talents, you can see that up here in the top left it says 90 per minute. The reason it says 90 per minute is because I have talents queued up. If they're not queued up, this is going to be 60. So you're not going to have as many talent points racking up. So first thing, before the tutorial, go into your talents, queue up the talents, okay? What talents should you queue up? I'll let RJ take over from here. Go ahead, RJ.
Yep, so the number one thing is your inventory and mining. So nanopack upgrades is probably going to be your first one. Get a couple levels into that. Then after that, get your mining range leveled up, a couple levels, and scanner upgrades. That's going to let you detect that ore quicker. And then after that, you're going to want to get into dredger. So you're going to need a few levels into your original mining category. But that mining efficiency is actually going to allow you to extract more ore when you're mining in the vein. So that's about it for that. Back to you, Sky.
All right, thanks, man. Obviously, I recommend doing like the first couple levels on that stuff. You don't want to go crazy into one tier because it's going to take forever. All that stuff is time oriented. It takes time for those skills to develop. That's how it works. It's a time oriented thing. So next up, we're going to go over containers. Now, linked containers, this is the next tip and trick. So obviously, you're going to right click and you're going to link to a container, right? So this one's already linked. I don't need to reset it. But when you link to a container and you're away from the container, but you're still within the range, how do you know that you're on the container? How does all that work and stuff like that? So what you're going to do is if you go into your inventory, you can see in the top right here, it says set link containers default container. So if you're mining and stuff and you want it to go straight in the container, you just hit that bad boy. So like right now it's on nanopack, so it's not highlighted. So it's a nanopack. You can see here the tab nanopack. So if I click this, boom, switches over to linked container. It's on linked container now, okay? And this is your linked container. Now you may want to know, how do I toggle between my linked container and my nanopack manually, or not, with keys, I should say. So you're gonna do Control I, all right? Now, right now, it only shows you down at the bottom in the middle. So it's a little bit hard to tell sometimes, especially if you have a bunch of crud around, or it might blend in, or it's dark, or whatever the case. So what you want to do is go into like a build mode, or maybe like voxel placement, or whatever the case may be, and over on the right, you can see that it says nanopack right here on the right, see? So if you hit Control I, that switches you back to the linked container, okay? So if you don't have any windows open and you're not sure, it might be on the right side there. Linked container, nanopack, linked container. And that covers it for the linked containers, okay? Next up, we're going to go over Control Z, I believe. Excuse me, let me get out of build mode. Sorry about that. So we're going to go into free running, okay? So free running is Control Z. So if you're tired of holding down that W key and you've got a long way to go, or you're stranded and you have to move somewhere, just hit Control Z and you're free running, okay? Look, hands free. There I go. I'm on the move. No big deal. You can change directions, whatever. Control Z could save your life, okay? Next up, we're going to go over the basics of how to find and mine for ore, all right? So you're going to pull out your scanner. We're going to go for that light teal, okay? So you want it to go to the bottom right. Bottom right is you, okay? So if at any point in time it goes up from that line on the right, it means you're going the wrong direction. So see how it's getting a little lower? It means we're getting closer. Okay, it's spiked up, so we want to turn around and go back where we were to get it back down again. Okay, there we go. So this is about as close as we're going to get, is around this area right here. So once you find that it's as close as you can get to it on the surface, you're going to start digging down. Now, you're going to dig for a while, okay? Some of the easier tiers you find pretty quick, but some of those tier 3s, tier 4s, especially the 5s, they're probably going to be pretty deep. So the next tip is to right-click. If you right-click while you're digging, right, you have that mouse clicked, and you right-click and you click once off of it, it's going to keep digging. That's my next big tip that saves you a lot of time. If you don't have a macro and you're tired of holding down that mouse button, right click once, click off. Now, even though you've clicked off and it's digging, you can even look around. Like I can change directions, right? And it's gonna keep digging. The only reason it would stop is if it digs too far out and it's out of range, or if you get too close to it, it's gonna stop. Okay, so keep that in mind while you're doing your little right click free dig move. Okay, and while you're in the ground and you can't see and you're trying to figure out which way is up or down, you're gonna turn on your light by hitting L, and then you see on the right side, it's gonna show you whether you're positive or negative. This gives you your angles. So if you're trying to move down somewhere, you got those negative numbers. You're trying to move up, you got the positive numbers. If you're specifically trying to find a direction for an ore, you want to try and keep it level somewhere around 0 and pick a direction and see what you can find. But that's a really good tip to help you out while you're under the ground and you're trying to mine and you're not sure which way is up, literally. Okay. Now, next up, we're gonna do locking on to your buddies. So if you're digging around and you're trying to meet up with your friend, but you're not exactly sure where he is, all you got to do, if you've already got him added as a friend, which isn't too hard, I'm sure you can figure that out, you're going to right click on him and you're going to hit lock player. Okay, once that player is locked, you're going to be able to see him on the map and they're going to come up as a waypoint, just like you would in a map. So we're going to head over to RJ there. He's probably in the ship, and that'll show us some other tips and tricks here in a second. But while I'm on the way, I wanted to talk about V. So V turns your HUD off and on, okay? But I think the default when you hit V actually shows the borders, like the territory borders and the players. And for me, I don't like seeing the borders. I just want to see the players that are around. So to be able to access that stuff, you're going to hit Control V, or excuse me, Alt V. When you hit Alt V, it's going to come up with this little menu, and this is a really good tip for you guys. So you can pick up, okay, like are ships near me on the map? Are solid constructs near me? Do I want to display the territories? I don't want to. And then you just hit Save and Close, and then you can toggle that off and on by hitting that V key, okay? So I can see RJ, I don't see RJ. But since he's still locked on, we've got that waypoint to him. If you're digging around and you need to be able to see each other and find each other, that's a really good trick. The only thing that's kind of weird is, as you can see, he's got like a weird white glow. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn it off, and you'll see that he loses that weird white. Okay, there. See, that white's gone. So don't freak out if they're all white. It's not your game glitching or bugging or anything. It's just the lock on. It's just the lock on being a lock on. That's pretty much it. All right, so we're inside the ship. And next up, I'm going to talk about these resurrection nodes. So my next tip here is you can activate multiple resurrection nodes. More than one, more than two, more than three. I'm not sure what the max is. Maybe you can do like a ridiculous amount. But when you die, wherever you die, you're going to respawn at the nearest activated resurrection node. That being said, maybe you don't want to activate some of them. And you can activate some and then deactivate some later or whatever. All you got to do is go to that node, hit F, and you're good to go. All right. Next tip: flying at higher altitude saves you fuel. All right. If you're starting out or you don't have a lot of people working together and you're out there trying to fly and save fuel, try and get at high altitudes. The air is thinner. The game is smart. It knows that you're trying to, save fuel or get out of the atmosphere. So it's not going to be as much resistance. So you don't need to burn as much fuel. Next tip. So when you're piloting, right? So once you make it to space and you're piloting, if you're in the pilot seat, you're going to hit X. When you hit X 3 times, actually, it's going to show you where you're going. So if you're trying to line up to a planet and you have a waypoint, you hit that X a couple times, eventually it's going to show you a laser beam, and it should show you where you're going. Now, if it's red and it's kind of curved around the planet, it's because your trajectory is actually going to head down and you're going to crash into the planet. But you got to give it some time. It's going to fix itself. It's going to rotate out, and eventually you'll be able to see kind of where you're headed. And then you want to make adjustments as you're flying with that line to make sure that you're lined up to the planet to the best of your abilities. Now, the last couple of tips and tricks that I have for you for Dual Universe is the build mode while you're flying. So you can see here RJ is piloting the ship, no problem. We're making our way on the top of the atmosphere to save fuel, which I covered already. If you hit B while you're on the ship, you can literally work on the craft while you're flying. We're literally flying over the planet. I'm hovering, and I can work on the ship. I can move elements. Speaking of move elements, that leads me to my next tip. So if you're in build mode and you want to finite move an element, right? So you're going to do your element move key, like so. And if you hit an arrow left or right, it's going to move it half a voxel. So if you're trying to get that specific spot, that nice little placement that you want, just hit that move element key, highlight it, hit an arrow, and it's good to go. So that almost covers it all. The last one that I want to talk about real quick is you can also do a spacewalk. So if I jump off, actually, I'm not sure because I'm still in atmosphere and I'm afraid to mess that up, so we're not going to test that right now. But if you're in space, you should still be able to spacewalk because your jetpack will still keep you with the ship. But I'm a little bit worried to do it at the moment. So the last one here for my tips and tricks for dual universe is when you're sitting in any kind of seat that's on a ship and you hit insert, it's going to show you the view of the ship. It gives you the third person. As far as I know, this is the only third person you can get on a ship. And then you're like, well, Trylon, if I want to see the ship, but I'm this close, I can't really see it very well. You're right. So my advice for you on that is if you hold down shift and you hit your scroll wheel on your mouse, boom, you can zoom out. This is as far as I can zoom out, but you can see the ship completely and it looks pretty ugly, but it's still my ship and it gets us places. So that covers it for all of my tips and tricks that I have for dual universe. RJ, go ahead and say goodbye.
Goodbye. Oh,
oh man,
I definitely
he legit said goodbye. All right, well, I'll fix that here soon. That was perfect. That was a perfect goodbye. If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more, give it a subscribe. I stream almost every day. It's going to be Trylon_Sky on Twitch, and I'm going to be giving away a free beta key to people that follow, and they can get in the raffle, and then I'll get you guys going. And that's pretty much all I got. So I appreciate your time, and I'll see you guys around.